Lady Charmaine, and my guests today are two brothers who are both comedians and actors. They have appeared in some of our favorite movies and television shows, and they're here to talk about their TV1 Unsung episode. Help me welcome Joe and Guy Torry to the Lady Charmaine Live Show. Welcome, fellas.
What's happening?
Hey, glad to have you on the show.
Oh, how you doing?
Good. Glad to have you on the show. And congratulations on your Unsung Hollywood episode. How exciting is that for you both to have your story told on a TV1 Unsung?
Well, I don't know about Joe, but I know for me, I mean, basically, I was even surprised that, I had a career worthy enough of an Unsung because it's such a prestigious show. And I was like, wow, when you're in it and you're working, you don't really look back and say, hey, look at all my accomplishments. But when you sit back and someone wants to honor that and show that and tell your story, then that's when it's like, wow, I have done a lot and I'm blessed. So, I mean, that's how I felt. I don't know how Joe felt. I'm sure Joe felt probably the same. Go ahead, Joe.
Yeah, well, I felt that, it's an honor for them to, look at anybody's life over a career, see the success they did in it and they had in it, and then, for us, because usually it's a whole lot of iconic people that, that we even, inspired to still be. But now it's taking a different look on just people that have given so much to the entertainment game, and this is called Hollywood Unsung. So I kind of like the way they kind of kept up with us for over 20 years or plus in the business, and they kind of look at it in an intricate way as far as having siblings in the business at the same time, and trying to work with them in the business at the same time. So that's for any business, working with family. And then having success in working with family. So, I'm honored.
Now, I really enjoyed your outlook on that because some people think when you hear unsung, that means your career is over, but not necessarily so because the way TV1 does the show, it really does honor the person's career and it enlightens us on the struggles you had to go through, where you are, and also where you're going to. And that's the one thing that I really do love and appreciate about this show. Now, for you, Guy, I wanted to know, how did they get Guy out of your name, Robert?
Because I'm named after my dad. So my dad is Robert Guy Torry Sr. So I'm Robert Guy Torry II. So in college, I went by Torry. Most of us went by Torry. We went by last name because Torry is a cool name. So I went to a different college, and my brothers and my sisters, so everybody called me Torry. But when the group Guy came out, and all the ladies liked the group Guy, like, oh, that's a cool group, I said, well, I'm going to use my middle name. That's my middle name, so I'm going by my middle name. So I started using Guy in college because the ladies liked it. So that's how we got the Guy Torry.
Oh, so you tried to capitalize on the sexy. That's what you were doing.
Absolutely. I'm attractively challenged, so I need something to be sexy about me, so it might as well be my damn name.
I know that's right. Now, Joe, we know that you kicked it off for the Torry family as in comedy. When did you realize that you were funny? Were you the class clown?
Yeah, I was pretty much class clown everywhere I went. I mean, we were military children, so we were always either being, well, at my age anyway, Guy was younger. A lot of people ask, who's older, who's younger? Guy like 4 years younger than me. And so we traveled a lot. I was in a lot of school. So, my vernacular is kind of like this because, I was born in Newport News, Virginia, but I've lived in Seaside, California, where Guy was born, Port Orford. That's why I'm a Raider fan. I lived in Jamaica, Queens, New York. We spent summers in D.C. and South Carolina. But we grew up, finished growing up like in St. Louis. So everywhere we went, we either was teased or, because we had military haircuts or we had a funny, kind of vernacular that we would talk about. So I would always...
We dressed funny, too. We were wearing cowboy boots and high-water pants with patches on them.
Okay. Exactly. So we, I just collected, I just had to have an arsenal of jokes or material, when people talked about it, and I wasn't afraid to talk about yourself from the East Coast to the South to the West Coast. And we're going to be the new kids. I'm not going to be the one that you're going to talk about and talk about our funny haircuts or our boots or, or whatever was wrong. So, I kind of like, did it in a comical way, class clown kind of way. Didn't know it was going to lead me into, being a comedian on stage.
Now, for you, Guy, what was it like growing up in the Torry household with two potential comedians?
It was nuts because we're actually not even the funniest ones in our family. My dad was hysterically funny. My mom was a wild storytelling, crazy funny lady. But then we have siblings who are funny too. It's like, at Thanksgiving, our table was like the clumps. It was just a bunch of clowning going around the table. So, I mean, it was, and Joe was, always the one who was always, had the spotlight, always the one who got in the most trouble, always the one who was the most mischievous. So, and always cracking jokes. So, again, like he said, you guys defend yourself off of them jokes. So, I mean, I grew a, kind of a quick wit and being funny, but not at home, mainly around my friends. Like, people, when I became a comedian, everybody was kind of surprised in my family, but my friends who I hung with every day wasn't surprised at all, because I was always a class clown as well.
So for you, Joe, since you were quick-witted and your younger brother was learning how to be a class clown and funny, when did you decide to make comedy a career?
I saw like Sammy Davis Jr. on TV, like one of those specials. Mm-hmm. He was always on the Carol Burnett special, always on one of those variety specials, at every time. And for the family programming that we could watch back in the day, mm-hmm. you identified with whoever was, looked like you. And he was everywhere. He had so much talent. He could sing, he could dance, he'd be in a movie, he could direct. You were just like, wow, I kind of want to be like this. So, when I grew up, I understood I didn't have that much talent like Sammy Davis Jr. So I was like, I kept it to what was cool, which was comedy and acting. And later, now I'm in directing, but to have somebody, to a beacon to kind of go after, and then later, you kind of hone yourself. And, I just start studying, the greats, the Mountain Mableys, mm-hmm. the Dick Gregorys, the Bill Cosby's, the Richard Pryor, the George Carlin, some of the stuff that you can kind of, you catch an album or you can see some stuff on. And I was like, I want to express myself like that. I want to make people laugh. Having a mother that was a school teacher, learning, the encyclopedia, the dictionary, and having to pronounce words correctly, it just, it made your rhetoric, better. And it kind of made me, seeing her speak and seeing her teach, gave me that confidence to get up in front of people and be bold to kind of, take control of a room.
So being the trailblazer of the family, how long from that moment when you decided that you wanted to make this a career to your big break to Def Comedy Jam, how difficult was those times, and how did that big break come for you when Martin Lawrence left the show?
Oh, man, well, coming out to L.A., I either, black people had a couple of ways you was going to try to make it, and that was either you was going to be an athlete and hopefully go, the athletic route where, and I'm saying names now, but, go O.J. Simpson or Marcus Allen, some of them cats who turned their football career into acting, got commercials and went on, and you were like, man, that's kind of the route. So, my route was, to do that. So I came out, I played football. Both of us were very good athletes. Guy was track and football, breaking all records every year. I played ball. I came out here and tried to get in the Raiders camp, but, Bo Jackson and Tim Brown had that locked up. So it was like, you better get your butt on that stage. So I focused on, I put all my energy in just learning from the best. Robin Harris, who the late, great Robin Harris, mm-hmm. who took me by the hand and took me around to L.A. I used to run around Martin Lawrence at the time. And this is before we got on, Def Comedy Jam. We were running around Tommy Davis. We was running around trying to get on stages and clubs, so just sharpening our skill. And then seeing what Martin did, seeing how he transformed his style of comedy into hosting Def Comedy Jam, and then going on to American, I think it was American, what was the big show back in the day, not American Idol, but,
Star Search.
But that show, and then,
Star Search.
Yeah, say, what'd you say?
Star Search?
Yeah, Star Search. Yeah, from Star Search. And he was like, okay, if he can do it, I know I can do it. And then he just opened up doors. So when Def Jam came, and they came a knocking looking for, Robin Harris, when Robin Harris passed, he just, it kind of left all this open for people, for us to take advantage of. And that's when Martin, he came through and set a precedence for, this wave of comedy and how it's told and how it's supposed to be accepted. And I just picked up the torch, basically when he got too big for Def Jam.
Oh, okay. Now, Guy, how easy was it for you, or was it difficult for you as your brother Light is now shining and he's moving up? Did it make it easier for you to come into the business, or a little more difficult because of the Torry name?
It was both. I will say it was both. First of all, I moved out to L.A. to get into to finish my schooling, marketing degree, whatever. But then, I got bit by the Def Jam bug, and seeing Joe have success at it, and had seen Martin have success at it. And I was always the class clown, the campus clown, the school bus clown. So I was like, you know what? I used to get kicked out of class for this, but if I can make a living out of it, then I'm gonna go ahead and throw my hat in the ring. So it was easy and hard at the same time. Because number one, I mean, it was tough because I had big shoes to fill. I mean, Joe had already blazed the trail. He was already a star. He was already had done movies and Port of Justice and TVs and Def Jam. So the pressure was like, okay, I didn't have any room to fail. I didn't have a lot of time to fail because the expectation level was going to be high for me already. But it was easier because, I mean, Joe made it easier for me in a lot of ways. One, because I lived with him for 4 years, and he didn't put any pressure on me to pay bills or pay rent, and that relieves a bunch of stress off your mind. You have to worry about where you're gonna sleep and where you're gonna eat. Mm-hmm. So that made it easier for me. And he was just like, as long as you're in the club, working on your craft, then you good. So plus, he showed me the ropes a lot. I mean, as far as how to be on stage and how to write jokes and things like that. So it was easy in some regards because I had that guidance, but it was also hard because I had a name to live up to. Now, if he had stunk and it wasn't about anything, then it would have been easier. But he raised the bar, so I had to jump to the bar and had to either keep the bar or surpass it. Now,
did you both ever have any sibling rivalry, friendly rivalry? What was that like?
What? Are you crazy? I can't say it, though. I can't say it. I'm serious. They had to talk me into doing this unsung, to be totally honest. Really? I mean, first of all, I'm glad that they're honoring our careers while we're still alive. That's a good thing about Hollywood, Unsung Hollywood. But at the same time, me and Joe love each other, but we don't really like each other. If we weren't family, we wouldn't really hang out.
Really?
Not my cup of tea.
Why?
No, not at all. But because we're both two alpha males, and Joe wants it his way, I want it my way, and our ways sometimes don't go in the same direction. So I had to get talked into doing it, and it turned out to be. It's funny as my other brother, our oldest brother, calls me on my cell phone right now. But should really get his opinion. But definitely sibling rivalry. Healthy competition at first because everything Joe did and my older siblings did, I try to do the same thing. So, the rivalry was friendly, friendly competition, and, sometimes two alpha males just butt heads.
Then what is it like in your household when somebody's cracking a joke? Do you always try to do a better joke? Do you try to one-up each other?
Always. I'm sure Joe can speak on the rivalry, too. Go ahead, Joe.
I mean, I see it a little bit different. I mean, I mean, we love each other, but, I'm always love, my brother. So that's my brother. Mm-hmm. Now, he may not like me at certain times because, certain things I've done in my youth that he had to live up to as far as not just jokes, but like, bad things, get put out of school, going to jail a couple times, just, giving a little bad name for the Tories. So, he was always being, what would you call, identified with being, a Tory and not the good part. My sister had a good part of his name. So he really tried to change his name, to when he first got out there to the world famous Guy T. He didn't even go by Tory. He wanted to say world famous Guy T. He wanted to do this and anything else because, he wanted to really get out of my shadow. And it wasn't my shadow, it was just a shadow of just the Toriness. And I think that is where the rivalry came to because he always felt like he was competing, to not be like me. And people always compare to me. I'm talking about, you look like Joe, but you look like Joe Torry on crack. Or you look like, you're just a wiry Joe Torry.
It goes deeper than that because me and Joe, we went to the same schools and we had the same teachers. So even in grade school, Joe was so damn bad. He left such an impression on the teachers that when I came behind him, they would end up calling me Joe by mistake. Because Joe left such a lasting impression. We do kind of look alike. We kind of sound alike. So Joe left such a lasting impression that, they would accidentally call me Joe. Girls that that I would come and try to talk to, like she's looking at me and smiling, and I'm walking up thinking like, okay, she liked me, and she's like, is Joe your brother? I'm like, oh, Joe didn't hit this one. I can't even go down that road. I've been called Joe in the act of making love sometimes, and I wasn't even. And Joe probably got some babies out there that he don't know he's taking care of his mind. But they thought I was Joe, so I'm not gonna tell me anything different until after the fact. But So it's always been that. I had coaches. We were very active in sports. We had the same wrestling coach, had the same football coaches. So they would accidentally call me Joe in practice sometimes or during the game sometimes. So it was always, in that saddle, always being mistaken for Joe. Even I went to a different high school because the first semester I went to the same high school Joe went to. After he graduated, I was called Little Joe. So I left and went to another high school to make a name for myself. I went to a different college because when I would go visit Joe at his college at Lincoln University in Missouri, I'd be called Little Joe. So I said, let me go to a whole other school. But then I moved out to L.A. and get into the same profession, which this is my calling, so I'm not changing that. But, yeah, so it's always been a little bit probably did come from a little bit of that, trying to have my own identity and being frustrated with not having my own identity and trying to find that identity.
And trying to come out from under that shadow. Well, you did a great job doing it, so I'm glad you stuck in there.
I'm still doing it though.
Are you?
Still get us confused. And that's why one of the reasons why I really want to do this unsung after I decided to do it and look at the positives of it. And the positive is like celebrating our career, but at the same time, when people hear our story and they hear Joe's story, then they hear my story, then they can tell the difference between the two. They'll know that Joe is Joe and Guy is Guy. And that's what I want this one unsung to do is to really separate us from people getting us confused. But at the same time, hear the story of two guys growing up in the hood in St. Louis and going to Hollywood. We didn't grow up with silver spoon in our mouth. We had a mom and a dad who worked hard to raise us and give us the right morals and values and things like that. And they trusted us when we moved out to this big, devilish city of L.A. to pursue our careers. And he knew Joe. I mean, my parents knew Joe was going to look out for me for sure, so they weren't worried about that. So, I want people to know this story. Like, no matter where you come from, it sounds corny, but no matter where you come from or your circumstances, you can get your butt up out of there if you just focus and you work hard and you keep God at the center.
Amen to that. And that's a great way to end this. I want to thank you so much, Joe and Guy, for coming on the show. I want to remind the audience to make sure you tune in to TV One Unsung Wednesday, 8/7 Central on TV One. You're going to hear the story of the Torrys on Unsung Hollywood. Again, fellas, thank you so much for joining me on the show.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
No problem. This will be a great relief from all this political stuff that's going on. We will be the icing on top, the cherry. We will be the moon over the river.
Let's just say the Torry Brothers Unsung will be a happy ending to this election cycle. So hopefully you enjoy it and then go to sleep, because I always go to sleep after happy endings.
Me too. Thank you again, fellas. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Lady Charmaine.